We've just been joined by the country's chief minister in the person of Dr. Moinina Sengeh, who will take us through the importance of the recently signed performance contracts by government ministers, among other things. It's a pleasure having you this morning, Dr. Moinina Sengeh.
Thank you for having me.
Before we talk of the performance contract itself, first off, take us through your journey as a chief minister. How has it been like for you?
Every day is a new learning opportunity. I think one of the things that I enjoy is that no 2 days are the same. And sometimes you have, like yesterday, I had a 14-hour day. I had just come in, but you meet citizens, you're like the ombudsman of for everybody. Every person has a problem, and they tell you, every entity, every institution. And it's okay, because your job is to solve problems, is to make governance be available to the people. So I think about it as an opportunity to listen to people, help solve what I can solve, help facilitate those connections. So in a way, anything you want the president to know, you tell me, kind of, he will know. And I can also propagate messages of government to the people. It's really bridging the gap, service delivery. So I enjoy that.
The performance contract is more like a commitment between the president and his cabinet minister to deliver on his key manifesto promises. School us through the relevance of such a document.
I think what you said is correct, the president and the ministers. But also, it's us now as a government saying we want the people. This is a contract, because the manifesto is a contract, social contract between the president, his government, and the people of the country. And the manifesto becomes the National Development Plan. The National Development Plan is a 7-year program leading us to the SDG, Sustainable Development Goals 2030, and our own ambitious program of making Sierra Leone into a middle-income country by 2035. And then we take the National Development Plan, we reduce it to annual work plans. So each ministry, everybody has an annual work plan. And across the sector, we then take these annual work plans, and we, as government, say, but these are your priorities, these are your targets, this is what you're going to deliver in your annual work plan. And that's what the performance contract is. So in a way, it is what the people who voted for the president and those who did not vote for the president, every Sierra Leonean, it is our social contract to them to deliver services that are reduced into this performance contract on a year-to-year basis.
But how people-centered is this contract that has just been signed by the president? And because the essence, as you earlier mentioned, is for us, the people who voted in the government.
I think this is why I'm here. This is why yesterday, after I arrived at night, I went to the radio program. This is why my team is engaging people. This is why government is engaging people. But most importantly, that's why we published it. Everybody has access to it. Now I go to Swazi, I go to Market Women. Today I'll be with the people again. I will talk about it. Let people see what the commitments are, what we said we will do. That is the most people-centered you can be, because if I go on and I say, oh, I will do ABC, but I don't let you know, if I deliver or not, you wouldn't know. So now we're putting ourselves in the spotlight to say, this is what we said we will do for you over this year. And at the end of the year, you can evaluate it and say, you did A, B, C, you did this other stuff that you didn't say you're going to do, but why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do this particular one? And then we can have a conversation about it. But the second part is that we expect the citizens as well to look at this and say, what role can I play to deliver? Because it's not just, people often say, what does we will deliver mean? Yeah? We will deliver means all of us. You, me, SLPP, APC, person in government, person in parliament, you, the citizen, have a responsibility to deliver for this country. We will deliver does not mean we have not delivered yet. It's a way of being. We've already delivered. We've delivered many things. We can go through them in terms of what we have delivered. The GIWI Act, for example, 30% women in parliament. But we won't stop there. We will deliver means we will always continue to advocate for more women to be included. So it's a mentality, it's a framework that if you're giving the commitment, we will do it. Pancreas, talk and do. Talk and do not mean say you don't do it. So it means say what you been talking you do. But if you talk something today, back you go do it in the future. So we will deliver, and this delivery, accelerated delivery ethos is what President Bio wants all of us to embody.
So at this moment, help the public understand what is actually there to be delivered on as part of these performance contracts.
I think it's our national development. Look, there's no hiding that Sierra Leone's human development indices are not very high. We know that. We live in the country. And this is why we said we will come and do ABC things, why we have priorities, the big five. We know that we need to improve on agriculture. We import rice, a couple 100 million every year. We import onions, 30 million every year. We import all of these different things. So we need to deliver on food security. It's the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. That means, in very specific ways, we want to increase this year the land under cultivation for rice and cassava and onions. That means very specifically, we want to be able to locally harvest, locally mill, locally make available the foods that we have in our prisons, in our schools, in our boarding homes, and in the market. That means you and I will eat country rice because we want it, because it's available and it's not that expensive. It means when we say hospitals, we have a new hospital that His Excellency is going to open in Lumley, Children's Hospital. But what's even more interesting is that almost all of our referral hospitals now have solar powered. We are on the move, the ministry is on the move to make all hospitals energy sufficient with renewable energy. That is what is there to be delivered, and we need to reduce maternal mortality as well, which we have been reducing. We'll keep doing that. It means we extend roads to these far remote areas. We need to deliver. Every kilometer of road we lay is there to be delivered for the people's services. Education, you know, and when I was at education, I always said quality education is not you're not to switch. You know, they turn that on and off. They say, oh, quality, off quality. It's a process. And we keep delivering that quality until every day we get better. That's what growth and development is. So there are many things, and they are embedded within our national development plan.
It is unjust to say nothing has been done within Sierra Leone. But again, it is just to say that a lot needs to be done.
100% agree with you.
But again, we talk of the health sector, as you earlier mentioned. Even as we speak, access to water, talk less of the medication, the medicines in those facilities, but access to water in those hospitals remains a key concern. And you can't talk of a hospital that is fully functional without access to water in those hospitals, Mr. Minister.
I think you're right. We have done a lot, and we have a lot more to do. And that's what governance is. That's what service delivery is. That's why we're here. That's why some of us work 14-hour days, because we know that we have a lot to do for this country, and we will stop at nothing. By the way, this is what radical inclusion means. We will stop at nothing until there is more justice in our homes, in our workplaces, in our communities. So the people who are lawyers, who are helping children who have been raped, they are doing their own things from the NGO world and private sector. The people who are demanding GST tax receipts as citizens, they are doing their own thing because those monies come back into the consolidated fund and go. The people who are not dropping trash on the road because when it rains, it floods and we all suffer, they are also doing their own thing. This ethos of civic responsibility, where we as citizens understand that when we speak about government in Sierra Leone going forward, it's not just President Bio, it's not Chief Minister VP Julia Jallo, it's not Chief Minister David Sengeh, it's not just the MPs, it's not the local councillors only, but it's you and me. There are 80,000 people who are on the payroll, 82,000. There are 8 million Sierra Leoneans. How our country will transform is when we have a reset, close our eyes, reset, and understand that it's not the 80,000 people who are on the payroll that are solely responsible for transforming our country in the little thing that they are paid to do. But it is the 8 million of us who have that responsibility. Then we will accelerate. We as leaders, understand our role. We made a commitment to the people. We come and tell you, we promise this, and that's what we're working towards. But that's not going to happen without everybody. And so the disappointing part is when you have people who go and steal ETSA or destroy ETSA lights. The disappointing part is when, you know, government is fighting for 400 million with the US government, and people go and make phone calls to say, no, don't give it to them. When I was in Denmark signing a contract on cooperation, I was talking to the Prime Minister. People called the Prime Minister to say, me, Moinina Sengeh, I'm a serial killer, me. They went and called the Prime Minister and told them that I'm a human rights violator, me. So when people do that, it undermines not just people know my records, so they can try, but you can't tarnish a good man. But when they do that, it's that they make it difficult for the country. It affects them. It affects all of us in this effort. So you're right. We've done a lot. We can do a lot more, and we will do a lot more.
I think the health sector is not just one sector that is being challenged as we speak, but even, I mean, currently in Sierra Leone, the nation is battling with electricity, outage. I don't know the right way to put it, but there's
a crisis.
There is a crisis.
Yes.
That seem not, it seem not to be fixed within the twinkle of an eye. Where does the country sit at this particular moment?
So this is one, actually, and this is the complexity that's very difficult for people to get. But let's be at me. You said it's unjust to say much have not been done, but it's also unjust to say more cannot be done, okay? So on one side of the spectrum, in being really fair and just to the energy sector, in 2013, energy access to electricity access was at 13%. Today, we're at 30-something%.
But the practicality of same has not been seen.
No. Sorry, 1 second. It means that over 100 communities that never had light in their life, today have light. We will come to the challenges. But you cannot tell me that if you go to Sinkunya, where they never had light and they had light now, or you go to some faraway village in the south of Sierra Leone or in the east of Sierra Leone that have solar today, that's not practical. It will be unjust to say that. How come? Sorry, 1 second. It's important to understand this. It will be unjust to say that that's not practical. You agree? That's in Kunya that never had lights, and now they have light. Will you agree that it's unjust to say that it's not practical that they have light? How come? It's simple yes or no. I think it's unjust because they have lights. They never had lights before. My point is, it is true that we've expanded energy access. We've doubled energy access. It is also true that the car power and energy crisis in Freetown has affected lives. It is also true that it is unjust that government was not able to reach an agreement with car power that led to the shutdown. These things are true. And as humans, we need to understand, in the same way I'm sitting here, I'm using my hands and I'm talking, all those things are true. So when people like us say that government has made lots of efforts in bringing power to the people, doubled energy access, it's true. But we also say, yes, it's true that government was not able to pay its bills to
why is that the case? Wherein the people are paying, they're paying their energy bills.
It's
no avail. There is no light.
It's a really good question. So let's explain why that's the case. It's a really good question. People pay their bills, but they don't have lights. Governments cannot pay the bills.
Sounds more like a human rights violation. You have credit on your meter, but no light.
So I'll tell you why. Government subsidizes still the people's power. Energy takes government subsidies, the money that you and I pay. Okay? And we can explain why. You and I pay money to ETSA. The money that ETSA collects is not enough to pay our bills to the people who generate power. Why? There is mechanical loss, and this happens everywhere. Government has to pay that balance, and that money comes from you and I as well. Why? There are people who steal light. Why? There are people who steal generator and we have fuel, and we have to pay on that from EGTC. Why? Because Forex challenges that existed, and so this comes back to the economy. Why? Because people who are supposed to pay taxes steal from the people, and when you don't pay your taxes and when it doesn't go into the consolidated fund, government doesn't have cash. These are not excuses. This is just real. And so when we see this government and we're trying to solve this, we hear you. We hear your frustration, but it is unjust, to your point.
But again, this is a sector that has over time received huge chunks of money from donor-funded projects, and it still remains to be. It's still like it's zero.
Okay, so you're right. So let's speak about the kinds of funds that have been coming through and what they're supposed to be for. I just mentioned that 120 communities have light today that had never had lights before. I just mentioned, well, I hadn't mentioned it. We have 4 towns, you'll be 6 towns, who did not have light for, 20, 30, 40 years, that will have light. That's an investment. But you know one thing that's really interesting? The line, it's called the 161, the line from Bumbuna to Freetown is inefficient. It cannot evacuate the power that is needed. So those lines need to be changed. And it takes money and investments to change those lines. It may seem like, yeah, now the work that they own for they do, but these are works that you can never see. Changing power lines and power infrastructure costs millions of dollars, and we need to do it.
And we are talking of 6 years since the President Bill led government came.
We're talking 63 years. We're talking not just over the last 6 years. We need to do it. And you know what? We're still not going to. It doesn't matter who you bring between now and 5 years and 6 years or 8 years or 10 years. We wish, President Bill wishes that the whole country has power. But you're not going to generate power lines for the whole country within 10 years.
But with no disrespect to other parts of the country, of course, as you rightly mentioned, there is now, solar power has been, in those parts of the country.
I'm listening.
But again, within the main capital, we're still crippling to see constant or stable electricity supply in the country. I think it's in the next 3 or 4 days, we shall clock 63 years, Mr. Minister.
Yes.
And we're still talking of electricity supply in the country.
Look, I'm happy you said no disrespect to the country, the other people, because they also deserve light.
Definitely, most definitely.
You and I agree that Freetown continues to grow, and even if we bring, I don't know, right now, car power is supposed to generate about 65 megawatts at top energy generation for us, and that was reduced to 6. CLSG is supposed to generate, I think, about 27 megawatts, or I think 27 or 30, or around there, and that was reduced due to a couple other issues. We continue to expand renewable energy, but here's investments that we are making. We just supported a company now to sign a 108 megawatt solution, which will come. It will take 18 months to build. Government continues to find partners to build more megawatts, and private sector people have solar farms and other people that we're doing. Government will continue to bring generation. We know that we have to reform our institutions like ETSA and EGTC so that they are functional. By the way, not to me they work na ETSA, not to me they work na ETSA. Now your brother and my brother and they work na ETSA.
But how long are we finding partners?
Partners for what?
Solving the problems that we should have solved years back.
It's an investment. Even in America, even in Germany, most of the energy is supplied by private sector. It's private sector, it's economics. In these parts of the world, private sector provide energy. So what needs to happen? And I think nobody in this country will not have somebody with a thief light or women don't thief light.
So is that a problem?
That is a critical problem.
Is that the reason why we've been left.
It is not the reason. It is part of the reasons.
Because the reason why I asked that question, Mr. Minister, earlier on you mentioned government is still subventing the energy
Yes,
sector.
we're still subsidizing.
An argument to that, but the fact remains, just about a couple of months ago, we see the rates that we used to pay bills at EDSA,
and yet
we're still
subsidizing.
And now you subscribe, say 200 loans, they will barely give you 63 or so loans.
And that is why...
Which seem unjust, Mr. Minister.
And I'm telling you that yet, with all of that, we as a government is still putting money in the energy sector to make sure that you get light, to make sure that I get light. It's maybe difficult to comprehend. Yes, government increased tariffs because you know that what we did then was because of the energy around the world, the cost of energy went up everywhere. By the way, there are many countries around West Africa and around the world who struggle with energy. It's not just Sierra Leone. Ghana, Nigeria, Guinea-Bissau, Guinea. So when people it's okay, we are not saying we should compete for who doesn't have power. But it is not just Sierra Leone. Now, in Sierra Leone, when we had the full pass-through to citizens, we still, as a government, are putting in money, millions and millions of dollars every month, as I mentioned, because of the technical losses, because of the theft, because of the poor quality of network that existed. These require human behavioral changes and require large investments as well, and they will take time. And while government is looking to bring in more resources, there is the politics of it where people jeopardize and destroy. It's human complexity, not to excuse. I am speaking to you the reality. Maybe people don't like to discuss the reality. Not to excuse. It's the reality. And yes, we're working hard to solve it.
Mr. Chief Minister, you seem very much unhopeful as to...
I'm very hopeful,
You seem very much unhopeful as to a quick fix to this particular problem.
Look, we can't expect a quick fix for development. We can't. What we will expect is a quick set of actions that leads to things that will give us a permanent solution.
9 days today since we started experiencing...
What would you think a quick fix is? So, okay, we like problem solving. What do you think a quick fix solution will be?
That's a response I would have expected from your end.
Okay, well, I was just trying to think when we say quick fix. So a quick fix is, everybody knows, and we told everybody that we owe EDSA, we owe Car Power and CLSG, CI Group, we owe them.
$48 million US.
A quick fix is we should generate money to pay them. That's a quick fix. So the question is, can we, as a country, do we have 48 million to quickly take out of the budgets to pay people? No, we don't.
It seems more like the government hasn't been, EDSA or whoever hasn't been paying CAPA since the commenced operation, since you guys came.
No, because...
$48 million US is not small.
No, because... No, because, as I mentioned, even if we collect all the money that we're supposed to collect from EDSA, we still have to subsidize. We still have to pay more. So it's not true that government hasn't been paying. But even if when we collect all the money from you, okay, so let me give an example. And EDSA needs reform. The energy sector needs reform. We agree. But I'll tell you something. What we collect, what the people pay, what comes into our revenues for energy, this is important. Mm-hmm. We are able to collect often less than 50% or about 50% of what we pay. Now you say, well, not in our government, but then let's think about what that means. Say, well, governments for solve this. It's not an excuse. It's the reality. It means that the people who have meters that are not paying are part of the problem. It means that they are businesses. And we know this.
Should be responsible for that.
All of us. Look, I just said how many people in the work at ETSA. They are prime responsibility. Me, I am responsible. We as a government are responsible. Okay? But that responsibility doesn't stop with us. If that man not go thief light, will I be here thinking about how for go chaser and spend resources for go chaser may not thief light? No, I'll be going and engaging other people to bring in resources to give us more power. But here we are, still chasing people because of the thief light. That's work that the ETSA people should not be doing. They should be there thinking about how to automate, how to make life easier for you, how to make sure we change the cables. The money that we've used to subsidize losses, if we had used them to change the cables, we'll be fine. But today, would they follow people then with the thief light? Today, would they follow people then would they go put security then so that people then don't go spoil transmission? Then we say, oh, government. You and I are government. Every money that government spends on security to protect a transformer, every money that government spends on sending people who are supposed to be thinking about strategy for go begin look you meter, for go do something, every money the government spends on those inefficiencies and thefts is money that could have been invested into the sector. That's why we're where we are. It's you and me. One major change today, and I'll tell you an example. I have somebody, they heard me on radio before or TV before, talking about ETSA. The next day, before I come on here, he texted me, say, Mr. Minister, me meet I be non puelo, and now they take credit, just the past. After where you talk, I call ETSA for can't change her. How many people then they do that day? Today, if we not free tongue, we all. The one then we get illegal connection. If you go, you say, okay, I don't want illegal connection today. Me, I don't want. Today, me, I decide, say, I they go disconnect me illegal connection. The ETSA people then, where they connive with them people, then they will be how do you call it? Industrial rate versus individual consumer rate. Then go then say, no, me, I not agree again. That money even they give me, I not agree. Go pay the right rate, go put it inside the consolidated fund. If that man will be known go connect from other person your meter illegally, say no, you know, I want lights, but I want lights the right way. The country they begin change immediately. And not absolve me of my responsibility, or I still get what I need for do. We as the people need a mindset that this country will change, will transform with the right leaders, and we as the people have to support that leadership by taking our individual civic responsibilities.
Mr. Chief Minister, I could sense your frustration about the manner actually things are going, but nonetheless, I could vividly remember about a couple of months ago, 4 months to be specific, when the first gentleman of this nation made his New Year's speech, or so to speak, wherein he says that indeed now the country now enjoys stable electricity supply, and again, quote and unquote, he says not super hype.
And not to true, not to be hype.
But again, Mr. Minister, 4 months down the line, is it that the president was not well informed as to the modus operandi when he made those statements?
Not to be hype. Like I mentioned, those things are true, and this is also true. It is true that we had, been get light 4 months ago. We've been enjoying uninterrupted light 4 months ago, not to so, not being hype. Not to be hype. It is true that we did enjoy uninterrupted. This situation came about. By the way, more also put that into context, yeah? Yes, there's historical debt, okay? So we need to pay that debt there. But also it happens that this is not dry season. Bumbuna, inside dry season, car power they give with 65 megawatts. Inside rainy season at 25, then they give it. Inside rainy season, we pull from Bumbuna. And we need so it's also a time when things did not work. That's why we came into this disaster, this crisis.
It's more like we've not been prepared for the rainy day. Because I remember last year,
Yeah.
I mean, we were also approaching independence when we experienced a similar situation as such.
Dry season. It's the season. Look, when I say we will fix this and we will solve it, it's not going to be today or tomorrow. I'm not
even a month.
Our energy problem, we're not going to solve it today or tomorrow or in a month. But I'll assure every Sierra Leonean that we will solve it. That what we are doing, what President Bio is going to do, the reforms that we are going to take place, will reform the institutions that are responsible. But we're not going to do it alone. We need humans. We need you. We need your cousin. We need my brother. We need your sister. We need my aunt. We need your mom. We need my father. We need all of us to make the right decisions.
There are a number of issues to be discussed.
Yes, please.
Of course, but energy sits very pivotal, more so at this particular
we were going to talk about the performance development, but now we're talking about energy.
Definitely. But nonetheless, Mr. Minister, quite recently, we noticed that the cost of petroleum products, they've gone down. I think it's within a short of time, it's like 2 times in most countries. Nigeria is just one of them, because most times we compare ourselves to countries within the West African region, so to speak. But situation seems still just the same in Sahel. What's the problem?
It's not gone worse.
Are we not part of that global village?
No, I think actually, on the contrary, the global price for oil did go up. And it's because of our engagement with the OMCs that the fuel price did not go up. So which is okay. The citizens were there to work for the citizens. The citizens don't know what's happening in the background. But actually, global oil prices did go up. Nigeria produces oil. But Nigeria has its own problems. Like I said, Nigeria has electricity problems. So let's not...
Not as worse as it is the case for Sahel.
Based on what metric? In Abuja or Lagos, sure, they have light a lot more than Freetown and stuff. But like I said, in terms of renewable energy, Sierra Leone is very high up there. In terms of, again, we have to compare baselines. Even between 2018 to now, we have a lot more people who have access to electricity in the country. We understand that in this moment we experience blackouts, and so we feel like there's nothing working. But it would be unjust to say that. I do think that the economy, which is to the point, the forex has been stable for the last 8 months. The dollar. I just got told today that the inflation has gone down again. For the last 5 months, inflation has been going down. And we thank God for the policies and the macroeconomic decisions that are being made.
Even though the inflation are going down, you're not seeing the actualization in the markets.
It lags. It's a lag. It will take time. So inflation will go down. It will not immediately lead to a response. Unlike the opposite. It will lag, and systems will adjust. But today, I think we're now 40% inflation. We want it to go down. When I heard it, I told the people who are responsible that we need to be quickly accelerating down. And we pray, and we make the right policy decisions. People make the right decisions as well, that inflation keeps going down. But it's going down. It's gone down every month for the last 5 months.
The performance contract goes along with the required finances. But again, before we talk of the finances, are you of the view that the public service in this country, the public sector in this country, needs to be overhauled?
That's why it is one of President Bio's big 5 agenda priorities, public sector reform. It's not, by the way, I just came from New York. I'm one of the 24 members of the UN Secretary General's Committee of Experts on Public Administration. The whole world knows that the public sector needs to be reformed. And the conversations we were having were around digitization and technology and making sure that we can have efficiencies in the system. And Sierra Leone is actually doing a really big role in how we're reforming our public sector. And the public sector reform unit has been doing these, how do you call them? I forget what they're called, but they go and do systems review in ministries to see that ministries are doing what they're supposed to be doing, the human capacity is there. And you do that, you inform and advise the leadership in those ministries, and then they in turn take action. We are actively working. The Ministry of Public Administration, Political Affairs and Public Administration is doing a fantastic job. Yesterday, I was just talking to the Cabinet Secretariat, who's the head of the civil service, about looking at new mandates for ministries and making sure that people know what they're supposed to be doing. I just wrote a letter to all heads and deputies that they should work together very well, because it's not something that people do very well, and we'll keep working on that. So there are active things that we're doing. Now we're digitizing so many things and bringing efficiencies. So yes, it needs to be reformed.
Sierra Leone sits very well in the Security Council. I remember a couple of days ago there were statements from a permanent rep in the UN regarding the Gaza issue, so to speak. But again, there is an issue that is currently, it touches on the heart of every Sierra Leonean, and that of it's the younger issue. Where are we in terms of that? Because as we speak, it's as if things are falling apart.
Things, I wouldn't say things are falling apart. I'll show you that the Minister of Foreign Affairs was down there, and he communicated there, and this government and this country takes priority to protect its citizens and to make sure that we're able to solve problems that we are in amicably. And as you mentioned, we play a global role. We play an important role in the world for strengthening our multilateral institutions. We play a global role on diplomacy. We play a global role in general security. I want to tell the people of this country that His Excellency has this as a priority. He's looking into this, and we will keep fighting for amicable resolutions.
Mr. Minister, one among the key issues that I believe is also, it still seems very fresh on the minds of all of us, is that of the illicit use of drugs amongst young people. Quite recently, you commissioned the rehab center at PTMS,
yes.
Mission Training Center.
Yes.
And for which I think it's a start, it's a first step to,
those guys graduated and they're back in society now.
Yes, but again, what still seems a problem is the influx of the synthetic drug kush that is still in the hands of many youth that are ravaging across many parts in the country. Is the position of government still the same? Are you still worried about the influx of this drug?
One of the things that His Excellency has focused on and done is human capital. In 2018, he ran on a single human capital development agenda. And that was an investment in young people. We saw millions of kids go back to school. We saw millions of young people be given opportunities. When somebody has invested that much in young people, and then there is this crisis, he's traumatized, he's anxious, he's worried, and he's taking action. And we saw such of those actions. Before he even declared it an emergency, a public health crisis, we'd been working. There were task force, there were things that were happening. People just didn't see it, okay? But where we are now, we continue. We just saw that about $200,000 worth of those synthetic materials were destroyed last week. At the ports, we caught different people, containers, and we spoke about that. We saw on the sea coach bags that were also drug materials. We continue to catch and destroy. And now within the court system, we are making sure that we are harmonizing the drug laws, the pharmacy laws and the drug act, to make sure that they are consistent. The AG is working on that, AG's department. The magistrates are doing what they're supposed to be doing. It requires everybody, the police, but again, it affects humans. We all know people who are affected by this. It's our friends who went to school with, it's our children, it's our cousins. We know people who've lost their lives from this. We know people who know people. So it's again one of those things that require everybody's action. The government will do what the government will do, but the biggest change is going to come when you and I, when I drive and I meet the kids down the street or in my junction and I bind them and I talk to them and I have a chance to say, I tell them, even if I help them, because you know young people need help here and there. Say you have a conversation that is not about the drug. You go back and forth with them. It's addiction. It's a problem. We remain concerned, and the Ministry of Social Welfare, the Ministry of Internal Affairs, all of us are working really hard every day to make sure that we can address this, and things are improving.
Mr. Minister will continue to stay with us. We have a lot to discuss, but nonetheless, at this moment, let's go to our Facebook page and take some messages from people who've been watching from across the globe. Mohammed Hassan says, Mr. Minister, why comparing us to another country? Why Sierra Leone stakeholders always compare us with another countries when it comes to accountability? Usman Prince Suleiman Kavoni says, human behavioral change could only work when we deal with our public affairs processes and procedures in ways we conduct business. Hossam Conte says, Paupa Salongo Bete, way PC Tolombo broke down. Moigo Kalon Jr. says 6 years down the line and you could not realize this was going to be a problem. He was asking a question. Abdullah B. Lukule says Freetown is not the only important city in Sierra Leone. All parts of the country are vital to our economy, and that also deserves to have electricity. Such solar power systems or any other methods that can generate electricity for our communities. Yes, I agree that governments has to do more work to improve electricity, but human behavior also have to change. Stop stealing and stop damaging the power lines. Salimatu Kamara says, you people must pay for what we're doing. Okay, Usman Prince Kavoni also says, we have a short-term, a mid-term, and a long-term goals to sustain basic human standards of living. Saleh Cole says, a quick fix is paying the sheep. Yes, it's management of our money. Okay, this one is not clear. Bahadin Mustafa says, EDSA for able notice that without pausing or not tell them. Swissman Swiss says, Mr. Minister, all what you're talking about is true, but corruption is what's destroying government's plans. If politicians stop corruption and use our resources accordingly, I believe governments will succeed in all their plans. But if politicians are taking our money overseas to buy millions of dollars, houses and cars, how do you think government will succeed? How the people will have 24 hours electricity? How can the people have pure drinking water and better medical facilities? Whatever you're talking about, if politicians don't stop overseas banking, things will never change. We are a rich nation and governments have the capacity to succeed in all their plans, except if they stop misusing our resources. And as minister, you are very well aware about some of the bad things some of your colleague ministers are doing, but you choose to remain silent. And this one says, Usman Prince Suleiman Kavoni says, Chief Minister, where you study in the United States, people don't steal energy because there are systems put in place by the government to deter people not to steal energy. We lack infrastructural mechanisms to manage our departments and agencies through processes, procedures, models, and modules in a way we conduct our business. Rice Kamara says, why past governments manage to give 20 hours electricity per day? Satu Kaba says, God go expose all those who are involved in electricity thefts. Amen. Osam says, all managements of EDSA forgo as soon as possible. Ronald George Stone says, there is no quick fix, but what needs to be done is major cuts in the cabinet and various departments and agencies, less traveling trips, getting real investors where there is a win-win situation for the country and investors, instead of the country losing out to bad concessions, getting the agricultural sector on massive scale, not on a mini scale as it is now. and controlling our fishing sector rather than in the hands of cabals, maybe then Sierra Leone stands a chance for a brighter economic future. A lot of messages, Mr. Chief Minister. This one is from Osfren Kamai. It says, mathematically, excuses for a tangible issue will not give or solve problem that deserves proper fiscal responsibility. Greedflation, corruptflation, yield stagflation, which results to shrinkflation. To achieve sustainable energy, the transmission and distribution infrastructure must be revamped. The challenges of the CLSG line is because the transmission line was merged with the hydroelectric power. Technically, the geothermal energy distribution and transmission line can't be fixed with hydroelectric. That is not science. This one says, Kudos, Chief Minister, corruption everywhere. We have people in the health sector who collect money from people. Abu Khalil Jallo says, let una go eat the money or una go buy expensive motor car them. Daniel Macaulay says, I agree with Chief Minister. We need to change our mentality. Salon gets witch, bra. Suleiman Prince Kavoni says, we need to be fiscally responsible. Our government is too big with all these unnecessary creation of departments and agencies, which has been a burden on the electricity. A number of messages. Chief Minister, let me just take a few and then I will come back to you and see ways to continue the program. This one says, always, Ibrahim Musa Dumbuya says, always, we for the compare Salompa negative things them. Nigeria get blackout pass way. Ghana save the suffer pass way. Chief Minister, this one is from Ibrahim Kamai, says, Dr. David Moinina Sengeh, the challenges you face as a Chief Minister is designed to drive forward the country policy objectives with the time. More can be done. I trust the Almighty Allah will surely help Sierra Leone to achieve its goals. Last one is from Cherry Barry. He says, your president spent over $28 million just on trips, but you are crying for electricity. Unagolan. Chief Minister, those are some of the messages that I was able to take. We'll have to take some perhaps as we try to wrap up the program, but nonetheless you could respond and then we see ways to forge ahead.
Thank you. Look, citizens, their job is to advocate for themselves. Our job as government leaders, our job as people in the public sector is to address problems for citizens. As I mentioned to you, when we hear these criticisms, we accept them, we listen to them. Most of them are either misinformation or disinformation or really not based on real facts. But people's truths are their truths. It's different from the facts. I can come here and say that we have doubled energy access to people, which is a fact. It's different from the truth of the person who is experiencing blackout now. The person who spoke about 20 hours in a position, they're not informed. Because if I ask them, and actually which we actually look at the number of hours per day over the period, we cannot compare. It is far better now. So, but it doesn't do any good to speak about those things when we have a crisis at hand, because that's what we're feeling right now. And all I can say to the people of this country is that we will address this crisis. But most importantly, where we will be at the end of it, where we'll be in 2 years, will be considerably better than where we are today.
Chief Minister, how does it make you feel, or your government feel, to know that even as we speak at this particular moment in the 21st century, in present-day Sierra Leone, we are reliant on Kappa to supply the Freetown municipality with electricity? It's not about feeling. We're actively working to change it. I just mentioned car power is 65 megawatt. I just mentioned
that we have worked with a company to bring 108 megawatts that will be here in 18 months. So it's not about feeling. I've mentioned that we have worked and supported companies that are bringing 30, 40, 50 megawatts. It's not about feeling. People don't see that. And it's okay. What we see is the ship that's out there. It need not be there. We don't want it there. But our situation today is that it's there. The situation is we're all born hearing about bumbuna, 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 and because of, I'm going to say this, and people are going to say, oh, no, excuse, but it's just the fact that there was an agreement that was signed before we came by the APC that has been stuck and kept us in the place with bumbuna that we can't proceed with it. It's a fact. I know they put blame per APC. But yes, the APC signed the bad agreement on bumbuna. I can't say it. That means now, oh, now politics should they play? It's a fact. Many governments have been there. APC was there for 27 years. SLPP came for 10 years. APC came for 10 years. They didn't finish the bumbuna. It's a fact. We, as a government, this government, we have expanded the number of megawatts that's available. That's a fact. At the end of the day, it's about how people feel. So it's not how I feel. It's about how you feel, where you don't get light and the chop way cook a poil. That's your truth. It doesn't matter if I come to you and I say, you know, actually this week here light's been there for 4 days, or these 2 days no more lights, no, they will chop well.
You've just talked about some of the situations we go through.
You chop well, yes. I'm sorry. These things are your truths, and those are different from the facts. I am a data guy. I like to go with numbers, and I can talk about numbers. But numbers here are not going to help. We, as a country, need to address our energy problem in a sustainable way and a renewable way. We will.
Do you think we have negotiators who are foresighted?
What do you mean by that?
You've just mentioned, and it's so very clear and said, most of the times we go into deals, we go into agreement negotiations.
People are selfish.
All of a sudden,
it's not short-sighted. It's selfish. People are selfish. People sign bad deals. I mean, this 108 megawatt solution that I was talking about started 12 years ago.
And we still see a continuation of same. People are still signing bad deals.
I'll tell you something. You feel that the people that were the ETSA, now 6 years ago they hired them.
The airport is just one.
We can talk about the airport in a separate conversation about whether it's a bad deal or not. We can really talk about it, but let's not open that one. Let's talk about the people that were the ETSA. You feel that 6 months ago they hired them, or 6 years ago. There are people who've been at ETSA for 30 years. There are people who've been at ETSA for 15 years. There are people who've been at ETSA for 6 years. They are not APC or SLPP or whatever. They are humans. They are our friends and our brothers. The people who are at the ports, they've been there for years, 30 years, 20 years, 10 years, 2 years. Majority, more than 6. And I mention this to say, when people think about politics, they think, oh, na SLPP, na they don't come puela. Oh, na APC. We forget that the people who do the work is our cousins, is our brothers, is the people at the house. They're there. Deputy directors, secretaries, directors. We take responsibility because we have the political leadership and will continue to provide it, hence the public sector reform. I mention this to say, if you and I don't change, the country won't change. So yes, it's not that we have bad negotiators. We have people who don't put Sierra Leone at their um, they don't wear it as a badge. They don't wear it at the sleeve. I was laughing because I get one rap line where they say, "I lead with love." Me heart on my sleeve. It's like you don't. It's not there. You need to wear your national pride as a badge. If you're there, you forget her. If you did pan you, for see pan you. We don't see that in everything that people do, and we can give any kind of excuse for it. That person they way go collect tax, pay. That person they way if I lay 10,000 naira, go carry Tifan small. That person they way go cut line for go on side because if you say better pass that person with the two-way. Where I come on, I have some college friends when I was here. If I suck orange or if I eat granite today, if I walk on the street, I eat granite. I'm not able for heap that granite can on the street. I know heap on the street. And they put it in my pocket. My parents they laugh at me, say you crazy. They put granite can in your pocket. Because I not get mind for put granite can down the street. Imagine if we all not put granite can down the street. What's going to happen? And you say, okay, well, this is the system. We also go put a can go na your house, go dig na your backyard, bury him. Sign from Masada, maybe they can collect whatever it is. We as a people, if we don't take responsibility of our national development, elect Jesus Christ can, the country go the side there. And it's really hard to say, but we have to say it so the people know it. We as a government, me as chief minister, President Bio as president, our commitment is to make sure that this country can move forward. And we need everybody to be in line and to be in sync.
How worrying is the current state of Sierra Leone's economy? The reason why I ask is the fact that the public is still very concerned about the nature of the state of the overbloatedness of.
I think it's perception, by the way. Eh? It's perception
that's not perception, Chief Minister.
I'll tell you it's perception. If you look at the wage bill and calculate how much they pay minister there? Take a guess.
I need not to take a guess on that one. 20
million. Leones. It beaucoup pass beaucoup other people than salary. But ministers are not paid 80 million. And at embarrassing, maybe they don't go one for my talker. 21 million. I think you could don't go down safe now. Not only they pay minister then. So my point is, it is not the 29 ministers that are crippling our economy. There are people who are directors who are paid more than ministers. So when I say it's a perception, say, oh, now the minister, then we don't boku, now they don't make. No. They're paid 20 million, 21 million. That's how much they are paid. So that's not what leads to the bloated economy, to the bloated wage bill. Do you know why the wage bill is high? We hired 12,000 more teachers. We had 5,000 more nurses. We had a couple more thousand military. We increased teacher salaries by 55%. We increased healthcare salaries. That's why the wage bill is high. And yes, there are efficiencies in the wage bill. So I can speak to that. So it's perception for people to say, oh, now because of the ministry there. It's not true. That is not a fact. That is misinformation that people have put in our minds.
Are you paid 21 million euros?
I'm telling you that minister's salary, you can go to public sector and look at it, that's the salary for ministers. That's what I'm telling you, and that's a fact. Okay? And the reason why it's important that we have these conversations and that people know that, it's because if we don't engage and remove these perceptions, then people don't work. Because you're like, oh, that one, because they own better. I'm not saying there are no benefits and privileges, and yes, you're in your car, and those are there, and we recognize it, and that's the profession that we have. But it is not correct to say that this is why the wage bill is what it is. The real people who make up the majority of the wage bill is our auntie who's a teacher, it's our uncle who's a firefighter, it's our brother who's a police officer. Those people are on the wage bill. So when we say the wage bill bloated, we should be thinking about those people as well, not the 29 ministers.
We've seen appointments that are unbelievable of recent in country. On a daily basis, on a monthly basis, you see new appointment coming up from the office of the president.
The work needs to get done. The work needs to get done.
So, and that's more why I believe at this moment, I think, are we expecting another appointment, particularly so for EDSA? Have someone who come and solve the problems
that is not my job. My job is to make sure that the people at EDSA do their work. The person who appoints people is my boss, His Excellency Brigadier Retired Dr. Julius Maada Bio, the President of Sierra Leone.
You're there to advise because you're a brain. Some of us know you're a brain.
You know, yesterday we had an emergency meeting. We've had other meetings on energy. If there's any one thing that His Excellency is cracking his head about, it's energy. I'll tell you this. No time, no minute in which he's not thinking. He's the father of the nation. He has to think about our security. He has to think about our energy. He has to think about feeding us. He has to think about our children in schools. That's why he's there. That's why he's the big man. That's why he's the president. And I'll assure you, and I'll assure citizens that there's no minute he's not thinking about it. We can't second guess him. We can't preempt him. We just hope and we'll continue to advise him and make sure that we do the best for the country.
Mr. Minister, the cost per a bag of rice is moving closely to 1,000 millions. The President's flagship program, for this is second time, is that of Feed Salon Agenda.
Correct.
But as we speak, 10% of the country's budgetary allocation is being channeled to agriculture, which is according to the Maputo protocols. But is it enough for a project that has been termed the flagship of His Excellency?
I'll tell you, I was going to say that the Minister of Agriculture sent you a text to ask that question. The Minister of Agriculture is always advocating, which is his job, for increase in revenue. But he's also, and his team, they're managing large budgetary grants and aid. And aid is important. Somebody said, oh, no, go ask for help. Even Norway was aided before. Even Israel gets money from America. There's no country that's independent of the other people, so it's a separate conversation. But on agriculture, the minister wrote a really wonderful piece about when we expect the price of rice to go down. Like we mentioned, these things lag. The price of rice will ultimately go down as we increase cultivation, increase yield, make sure that the food is in the market, we import less rice, and we are able to export, then the price of rice will go down. It will take a lag. And we'll see that happening as we produce more locally. Now we're producing enough more of onions, we're producing enough more of rice. Hopefully over the next year we'll produce enough more of pepper, we'll produce those things, bread, flour, we're producing here now. It will make prices go down. So it will take time. But your point about the economy, I mentioned earlier that our inflation is going down month on month for the last 5 years. We'll keep doing those things. It's the macroeconomic decisions that the bank is doing and Ministry of Finance. We thank them. We hope they continue. Forex has been stabilized. We want to see it go down again as we do more exports of mineral and other produce. Now we're adding value to cacao. If we export that, oil, we export oil now out of Sierra Leone. Those are the things that have stabilized our macroeconomy. We need to produce more value locally. We need to be able to export things so people pay us in dollars, and the demand on the Leone will go down, you know.
The reason why I asked the question is the fact that a country who, across the globe, countries who've progressed over time, their economy hinges specifically so on agriculture.
Sure.
Because it's a sector that is there to ensure the drive and growth. But yes, you mentioned that of onions, the bread also to speak. I was in Podloko district when the president had that symbolic harvest at PC and Sons. But what remains key is the fact that most of these companies that we see, they are owned by, of course, they are private investors, but again, they are foreign investors. When they make whatever profit they make, these are profits that are being garnered out of Sierra Leone.
Look,
they never remain in Sierra Leone.
Entrepreneurship has been one of the things that I've always fought for and advocated for. We need many more entrepreneurs. But you know, in America, the places where entrepreneurship are big, entrepreneurs sleep in garages until they make it big. But yeah, young man, if you're an entrepreneur, you don't want to sleep in a garage. And I say this as I think people think entrepreneurship is easy. Entrepreneurship is a profession. It's a big deal. I have a friend who owns a chicken poultry thing. She's working every day. She doesn't have money. She's making moves, writing grants, saying, how am I going to buy the next feed? It's a struggle. Most businesses take 7 years to break even. So you have to put investment for 7 years. You can't pay yourself as an entrepreneur. You have to struggle. You're sleeping in the garage. That's the whole point about entrepreneurship. I don't think people, I joke sometimes, we don't get entrepreneur than our businessman, they'll get, buy and sell. And it's not a bad thing. The way they buy and sell, it's what it is. But it's when you're building an enterprise, you have to invest, not to buy and sell. And that means you're investing your time, you're making sacrifice. FDI is a good thing. Foreign direct investment is a good thing. So we want them to bring their dollars and invest it here and put it here. Government has a repatriation law that says if you make money here, you should repatriate about 30% back. We need to make sure that those companies are repatriating.
Is it practicable?
Yes, many do. I mean, I think these guys do repatriate. We need to make sure that all do. When that happens, then it will bring in more forex. Again, the people, and they will say, oh, that is not government. But the person where they in charge of repatriation, the bank, not to appoint out. As an example, I'm not making an accusation. Hey, boy, don't did it 15 years, 20 years. Me not even know. Pass every now and then, we'll go ask, say, oh, what's our repatriation? But if we forget back, so it's, we need a full, total mental change and ownership. And people think, well, not to all, man. People think can provoke, we will deliver, I will deliver, if not. We as a people have to have it as a mantra embedded in our brains that we will deliver. That if they put you so inside, you will deliver there. That if they go take you, go make road, you will deliver it. You sleep, we will deliver.
I saw those
you wake,
comments.
we will deliver.
I saw those comments on the page, and someone was asking, waiting really when they deliver.
That's what I was explaining. It's a mentality. It means the way you go school, you're not a teacher, you go teach fine, you will deliver the cause that you are there for. It means if you're not a nurse, where you go to inside, you will deliver. It means you as minister, when you show up, you will deliver. It means you as a journalist, when you come here, you will do your conscience right and ask me the tough questions as you have, even though we're both Prince Williams. But it shouldn't matter, you will deliver on your job. That's what it means. It means that when we commit to car power, we will deliver. It means that when you are supposed to pay your taxes, you will deliver by paying your taxes. It means that when the soldier is there working for the country, he or she will deliver and honor and protect the country and our lives. It means that when your CSO, when you're holding us accountable, you will deliver with truth and not some misinformation because you have some random ambition on your own. That's what it means. It means we will deliver.
Is the government worried about the current state of affairs at Sahel times?
The government is negotiating and the government is engaging. There's a team put together led by the Minister of Mines and the Minister of Finance. We will deliver the best deal for this country.
The reason why I ask is the fact that today the University of Sierra Leone is chunking out huge number of graduates. The Limcoquin University of Creative Technology, to speak, they're also chunking out huge, number of youth who will be joining, us to, to search for jobs. The fact is that we have a number of job seekers rather than those who are creating jobs. At some point in time, the president promised the people of this country, is it 500,000 jobs?
Yes.
How far with that one? And even those who are coming, are they sure of getting those jobs?
I think the Minister of Labor and the team will show you the baseline, but there's been many jobs already being created. Sabco, the company for the industry for sardines, already creating jobs. There are many other people who are creating more and more jobs. Kingo just opened the meal production thing. There's more jobs. There are jobs that have been there. The challenge is how we capture them. But you're right. You had said something which is really good, that agriculture is the baseline for most development. Netherlands, this is all they do. They sell us their onions, or they push their onions to us. agriculture creates a lot of jobs, and sometimes it's hard to measure it and to capture it, but we are found the job creation in industries as well as in agriculture.
At this particular point in time, Mr. Minister, I just want a reecho on something that you said earlier on. How soon are we expecting stability of energy supply? At some point in time when you were in the studio, you experienced something happen, right? That's just it.
By the way, I do think ETSA, and I'm not the most competent person for this. I'm an engineer, but there are better electrical engineers than I am, and people who do this, they can come and explain these things better. But I like to ask questions. And I always wondered, you know, people joke, then say, why make the lights can go off? Now I'm picking, I they play with and turn it on and off. So the other day I sent I'll tell you what, because these things, I'll read what the engineer said. Let me see. Because I was like, I got frustrated. We all get frustrated. I told them, I was like, you know, you have to really solve this problem of lights going on and off. It doesn't. This is what they said. This is what they told me.
So where you live, are you also experiencing blackouts as we speak?
Who?
You.
Yes. Do you think they choose, say this is Chief Minister's house, give it lights on us? No, they don't. Which is good. So here's what they said. The common reason for the on and off is due to an emergency opening of the system, mostly requested from the generator operators in the synchronized system, whenever they lose an engine, and requested for a low drop of certain megawatts to not overload the system, which might lead to total outage. Also, other instances might be a fault investigation in the network. So, if they experience that there's going to be a total drop loss, they turn it off, and then they turn off a generator. And then obviously you're like, well, why don't you just have a lot more energy available so you don't have to have an excess always? And then the answer, which makes sense, is that, well, it means, you know, it's more fuel, it means it's more generation that you could be giving to people. It's the reality. So you need to have a lot more megawatts available than you need, such that you don't experience what this is. That's the technical answer for the on-off. Does it make it any better for me when I'm at home and the light goes on and off? No. But now I understand. I know what the fact is. The fact is it's a technical problem. They have to turn it on and off, because if they don't, the system will fail. You go say, an explanation for say for we ETSA, they all these years enable don't fix that day. It's an honest question. It's a real question. We, as a government, we will make sure that those things are addressed.
Your predecessor, at some point in time, promised this country a fix of the bread and butter. I mean, the living conditions of we Sierra Leoneans.
Yeah.
And not too, I think recently the president also said that we've promised you guys bread and butter, but now we've given you guys bread and sardine. But things, the living condition, living standards of Sierra Leoneans is nothing to write home about, Mr. Minister.
I wouldn't say it's nothing to write. This is the part where you had said, it is not just to say we're not doing anything. It is also not just to say we can't do more. If there's any one thing I want us to agree on, it is that we cannot generalize. When people say it's nothing to write home about, and I'm not saying this is what you did now, I think it's just a language, but I find it that it's lazy. It just means that they don't want to think about what's to write home about. Because on the economy, I just mentioned, it is something to write home about that we have 2 flour-producing companies in Sierra Leone, Sonoko and the Mr. So's Flour Company. That's something to write home about. It is something to write home about that we have a sardine-making company in Sierra Leone. I can write home about that. It is something to write home about that we are making margarine butter in Sierra Leone.
The living standards of Sierra Leoneans I'm talking
what
about.
I'm saying, those things are things to write home about. Mm-hmm. The poverty level in Sierra Leone has not gone up.
Are we seeing a decrease in the poverty level?
I need to look at the last indices, but poverty has not gone up. That's something to write home about. I think there are many more people, you know, and this is the thing. I think the Statistics and Ministry of Finance will publish things soon. But service delivery has gone up in this country. Industry has gone up in this country. That's something to write home about. The GDP of this country has gone up. That's something to write home about. So, I understand what you mean, where you were going, that there's a lot we can do, but it is not just to say there's nothing to write home about. Between me and you, any indicator, most indicators, let me also not generalize, that you take today on human capital development, we are better today than we were 5 years ago. You say, oh, now waiting, what's true? Maternal mortality. We halved the number of women who die from childbirth. Child survival. We increased it, I think, by 30%. It could be more between 2018 and now. Energy access. We doubled energy access, even as we speak about energy crisis. Women's participation. We have increased it by over 30% in the legislation, in the executive, and will continue to do across the board. Death penalty removed. Criminal libel removed. Coups. We fought and resisted coups because of the investments that we've done in our security. Proud, gallant security. Because people are there trying to cause trouble still. And our security are doing their work. We thank them. We honor them. That is a lot. Is it enough? No. We can do more. But it's not right. We cannot give voice to those people who like to sit in America or UK and they're doing whatever and say, but not know they're home for writes about. They're not here. They don't want to write home. If they want to write home about something good, they can write home about something good. They have a right to voice their opinion. But I think really, so I think you and I can agree that it's not right, it's not just, use your language, to generalize in these ways. There is a lot to write home about the 1 million kids who are taking, who are in school additional now. I think it's much higher.
I know how passionate you are about education.
Yes,
but
sir.
Just a couple of months ago, we saw the hue and cry from parents, for which about 150,000 kids have been debarred from taking.
It's not 150, but I hear you.
Exams.
I think it's about 13,000 last I checked.
What's your position on that one?
It is very sad, and I don't think people understand what happened. So let me explain it. 3 years ago, we decided that we would digitize the system. We decided that there was a lot of malpractice. One major malpractice was that people come to SS3 and they fake the continuous assessment scores. The continuous assessment is 30% of your score. So if you fake it and give yourself maximum, you have done malpractice. We agreed that we should change it. One way to change it was you put continuous assessment in SS1, you put it in SS2, and you put it in SS3 on the digital system. So you can't fake it anymore. Schools did. Many schools did. Now, you have to have completed your continuous assessment for you to be eligible to register for exams. The portal is open not in one day. The portal is open over a period of time. Some schools, and there are different reasons why, did not submit their portal, their continuous assessment. Some principals are fighting, some the board is not working, some the IT guy not doing, some will not be know. Whatever the reason is, they didn't. Which means the portal closed. Which means they couldn't register and upload. For some schools, they batch uploaded and some picking and name not show up. This is not an excuse. It is just facts of what happened. Sierra Leone writes an exam with multiple other countries. We tried. We reached out to WIEC, please open this portal, please do this. We tried. But because we are in a consortium, they couldn't do it. So it is not 150,000. That honorable was misinforming the public. Okay. It is some amount that exists, and the ministry will give that information who cannot, unfortunately, write their exams. And to those children, they don't deserve that. Those children do not deserve that. Now let's talk about our responsibilities. I beg parents to care about their children's exams and their children's future, and they participate in their children's education. Continuous assessment is important. With the year done, ask the school, have you filled my child's continuous assessment? Can I see my child's continuous assessment? Make sure it is filled. Don't wait until the deadline, until your child can no longer sit an exam. We can do that. The children, make sure you ask your teachers, your schools, have you done this? The parents, ask the board, ask the principal, even if you can't do it, make sure the IT guy does it 1 week before, 2 weeks before. The ministry can also do a better job. We all have enough things to do, but let's not politicize it, which is what some people try to do. So, on that matter, unfortunately, those kids will not be able to take the exam this time. Government is looking at solutions, so they take the private that comes next time. And even there, people then steal the back way. You know, they try to cheat the system. It's difficult.
Mr. Minister, I think at this juncture, your opportunity to speak to the camera, and this has to do with what you mentioned earlier on, public perception and public confidence in your government.
Yeah.
Because with the current state of affairs, you yourself will agree that the confidence has dropped. Speak to the people.
I almost feel like I should do it in Creole.
Feel free.
It's time like say the problem where you feel, who say you means say you're not sure what's going to happen tomorrow. And you don't know which side, if it be like say you don't know which side you next food they come on, or which side the system they come on, you they lose hope. But I want to make you know, say, no matter what you they feel today, no matter say lights not there or the lights they go on and off, even though at some price they go up, I want to make you know, say, this government here, they work for you every day. For make sure say that price they go calm down tomorrow. For make sure say this light crisis where you get go better and improve. For make sure say the quality education, the healthcare, the work we picking and ones then go get on. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to happen today. Something not going to happen tomorrow. But I want to make you know say no day where we know the work. For make sure say at the end of the day, like by next tomorrow, we life could be better. And whilst we wait for next tomorrow, we work for make sure say today the team will be able to provide the situation will be able to solve with the solve for you. So maybe you not go see immediately this second, but with small hope, we will deliver for this country, for you and for me. And we need you, we need me, we need all man for work together for make sure say we country will go before.
Thank you so very much, Chief Minister Dr. David Moinina Sengeh, for your time this morning. It's been an extensive, it's been a very good engagement this morning.
Congratulations as well for a great week at Prince Williams, and thank you for having me here.
Thank you.